TNA Wrestling crossed that line again and produced a sensational Slammiversary show early this morning. Oh, actually, it was late last night, to be honest with you. Slammiversary went off the air just before other pay-per-views, of course, was on that night. But what a show! What a show! Look, we're not going to do the usual diving into the matches. What we are going to do is just do the rundown. Let's, go through what happened, our thoughts and where we think the future is going to lie. Now, the first things first is Brian James, former Road Dogg, was indeed backstage at TNA. Lots of rumors saying that he's going to be taking the place of Tommy Dreamer on creative for TNA, which, we have to wait and see a bit more about that because it's not official as of yet, still ironing out the details for the DOGG to cross the line and come over to us at TNA. Like I always say with these things, it's a wait and see approach. I mean, people were outraged that Tommy Dreamer had left, the same people that didn't want Tommy Dreamer in TNA. So I always say with this, I offer no opinion. We will see what happens in terms of booking. There was, of course, some questionable booking with Dreamer there and then Delirious and Co. But there's a questionable booking everywhere in wrestling. You just, it's just, I suppose, how people present it out there to the wider fan base. But look, I think at the end of the day, if Brian James does come into TNA, let's give him an opportunity. Let's see what happens, and we'll take it from there. But not official yet, I might add. What is official though, coming up on the next pay-per-view from TNA in August is Lockdown. Every single match inside the Lockdown cage should be an absolute barn burner of a pay-per-view. And not only that, coming up this coming November, Destination X returns for the first time in nearly a decade. I'm loving this. I am really loving it. Bringing back Lockdown as a pay-per-view and Destination X later on in the year, or the back end of the year, shall we say, is going to be nothing short of spectacular. Um, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to both those events. So and get your tickets when they go on sale. I think it's tnawrestling.com where you can get them. So make sure that you do. And of course, make sure if you're over here in the UK, download TNA Plus. Get it downloaded, get it subscribed. £9.99 a month, the equivalent, depending on where you are in the country. I was in Croydon today, and two Costas was over £10. You don't pay that if you watch TNA for a month. Instead of me getting two drinks today, I could have just signed up for TNA. The reality is I already have. But and there you go. There's the proof, right? You go into Costa, you get two drinks, £10, 5p in Croydon. For 6p less, I could have signed up for a month for TNA Plus and got the Slammiversary. There we go. A win for Elena Black on the pre-show. It was against Mara Sade and Indy Hartwell. You know, all three of those knockouts are going to be big pivotal people in TNA's future because Tracy Brooks, before this match, announced the TNA Knockouts Television Championship, which will begin, the tournament will begin this coming week on Impact Wrestling. Now, this is something that, again, has caused some issue, but it's caused a bit of chatter online because, and like I've mentioned on here, the TNA Knockouts Tag Championships, with a severe lack of knockout teams, is it really worth them keeping the Knockouts Tag Championship if they're bringing on a mid-card championship? Well, reality is we're going to find out because this TV championship is going to be coming up on our television screens as of this coming week on Impact. I mean, it's a 16 knockout tournament, which is going to pit, I would imagine, some people from outside TNA wrestling, at least for now. Now, rumors are flying around that TNA are going to be slowly introducing some new signings to us. So perhaps a couple of these new signings could come in this knockouts tournament to create a first ever TV champion. Now, Elena Black, Indy Hartwell, and Mara Sade are free type. There's a free knockouts right there that could, your first one, the first, being the first, you can never get that taken away from you. Okay, look, if you're a champion, you can never get that taken away from you. But the prestige in being the first person to win the TNA Knockouts Television Championship is going to be a big thing. And those three, I mean, Elena Black for me is another one that should be in title contention. Indy Hartwell to live out a dream is another one. You could go, like Amara said, someone that's really come into her own a little bit from in TNA, and there's a lot of other names you could list off from the list here now. Even Alicia Edwards, Tasha Steeles could get her chance to shine. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I think it's a good thing. I would like to see some more tag teams in the Knockouts tag division if that's a championship they're going to keep when this championship starts up. So I think it's a case of I'm all for it, but I'd like to see some additions in the tag team ranks as well. I think I probably said that one or the other. I think when we were talking on Friday about this, so we'll see. But I think it's a good thing. Sometimes too many championships, but if you look at the men's, you've got the world, you've got the X division, and you've got the international. So the women only had the world and the knockouts tag championship. So I'm definitely all for the women to have a secondary singular title, but let's make sure that the knockouts tag team division is looked after at the same time. That's my point. Anyway, but looking forward to that. Elena Black, like I said, picking up the victory in this one, and got to be a shoe-in for that tournament for sure. All three of the knockouts there, got to be looking at that gold. That's for sure. Another person with a win in the pre-show was Ricky Sosa. Bang Bang. Sorry, Cactus. That was a really bad impression. Bang Bang Sosa defeated Eric Young in the match there. And listen, Eric Young's had quite the upper hand on Ricky Sosa coming up these last few months or so since the original attack on Impact Wrestling. So Ricky Sosa getting a win on the big stage. Now, I hope he seemed to go away and come back and whatnot. So I really hope now that he's going to be sticking around at TNA. I know that he signed for TNA, of course, but sometimes with this, he signed and then we didn't see him for a month, and then the Eric Young attack, and then he went away again. I really hope now we start a program for him, which perhaps I don't know how much he weighs actually. Forgive me. Maybe the X division, maybe the international. There's opportunities there for Ricky Sosa now to take, and it was a good win over Eric Young. It was, the pay-per-view, to be honest, solid top to bottom. I'll be honest with you, there was some really great matches on this, and I know we're not going to go into them in massive detail like we normally do. And there is a reason for that, guys. I wanted to be quite honest with you. I did watch the whole thing. Yes, I have. Watched it from 9 o'clock last night, actually. I was even texting my good buddy, Cy Rothstein, through this. And those of you that have your interviews with TNA will know who he is. There was just so many pay-per-views this past weekend that, to me, I've got to do another one after this and then two more interviews tonight. So we're going to I'm not saying trimming it down because this will still be as long, but I'm just not going to go into a lot of detail about the matches. We're just going to talk about the winners and losers and where they go. For Ricky Sosa, though, I mean, the sky's the limit for that guy. TNA potentially losing some more names. We'll get into that. Great replacements, or at least one of them. He's not losing them, this person yet. We'll talk about it in a minute. But Ricky Sosa, a great win for him. And again, let's see what happens. But give him a program. If he's going to be on this TV now, let's start the build for him for the next division, for an international, not the world championship. Yeah, I think we're a bit, let's pump the brakes on that one. But let's definitely look at those other two championships. I'll go into another thought about the championships in a minute. But look, it started off, I mean, TNA started off the only way that you know how. The X division was back, and it was back with a bang on Slammiversary. We had, obviously, Leon. We had Amazing Red come back. Casey Navarro, Frankie Kazarian. Oh my God, I'm going to be so annoying. Excuse me for 1 minute. I need to look at all the participants in this. Apologies, I've got to do this. I normally have it all written down, but like I said, we were not doing it the normal way that I would do these reviews. But the match was crazy. The match was absolutely crazy. I mean, Leon just dives around all over the place. Mr. Elegance was in it as well, of course. It was just an incredible match. There were so many spots in this match. There were some great moves actually off the X structure as well. Which it was just honestly, we always say on this channel, you start the match hot, right? You absolutely start the match hot and you get that crowd going. And you can't think of any better way to get them going than that. It was tremendous, absolutely tremendous in this. And it was obviously Cedric Alexander, amazing red. Fabian Eichner, of course, Frankie Kazarian, Casey Navarro, Leon Slater, and Mr. Elegance. I think the only thing about this, I would say, only got 10 minutes. And I know you might think, well, that's more than what a lot of people get, and that is true. But a 10-minute, 6-man, 7-man Ultimate X, you've got less than a minute each to get your shit in, so to speak. So maybe a time thing could have got longer, but it was tremendous. Now, Cedric won it in a very, not say unique fashion, but I didn't like the way that he won. I have to be honest with you. There was Leon, and I think Mr. Elegance were fighting on top. They were fighting over the belt. The belt actually got into Leon's hands, and then Cedric Alexander literally picked it out of his hands. I think it maybe even fell off his hands and went straight into Alexander's hands, and he retains that way. I didn't like that. I have no problem with Cedric winning the retaining the championship though. Just didn't like the manner. I thought it was a little bit, You go back to, everyone was talking about TNA booking, and you're sort of saying, really, But look, the match itself, absolutely awesome. You can forgive the ending. What was a really nice touch about this ending was Amazing Red got an amazing, no pun intended, response from the fans. And also they announced why he was in the ring. He's going to be the next person inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame at Bound for Glory, which I think is absolutely fantastic, absolutely deserved as well from Amazing Red. What a career! What a career! And he can still be. He was code red in all over the place. You got to be careful because the code red over here in the UK can mean something else. But he was going crazy. It looked like he hadn't lost a step. He was tremendous. He really was. This match was fantastic. One of the guys that we think that perhaps is leaving TNA near the end of the year, though, will be Leon Slater. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of interest. I think the rumors are contract, I think the back end of this year. Um, so we'll have to see what happens there. I kind of hope that he stays where he is, but there's going to be eyes on him. Of course there is, There's going to be eyes on the prize, so to speak, and that prize is Leon Slater. But, like I said, Ricky Sosa as a really good replacement. I'm not saying he's going to replace Leon, but, in terms of crowd already there with him and everything else. And yeah, I'm looking forward. I mean, look at the rest in there. Casey Navarro will certainly win a championship. Frankie Kazarian doesn't even need a championship now. He's just the man at TNA. Obviously, Amazing Red career is coming to an end, at least in TNA. Anyway, Fabian Eichner, a great showing. Um, it's going to be an interesting one. I actually don't even know how long he's actually signed for. Because obviously TNA don't do these 3, 4, 5 year contracts. It's more of a 6 months, a year kind of thing. So I'd like to see what happens with Fabian. He's a great talent, and I think there's a lot more to come from him. And Mr. Elegance, well, I mean, what can you say? I think he's still unbeaten in one-on-one matches. So we may see if that ends up being the same after Impact this week. But a really incredible main event. Things on my bingo card in wrestling I didn't think I would cross off. Expressions being one of them. Now, those in the UK that will know who Expressions are, now he is a content creator predominantly for English football, i.e. soccer, for those American fans. And a bit close to my heart, he is a avid Spurs or Tottenham fan, or Spurs, as the Europeans, when they sign for Tottenham, like to say. He is an avid Tottenham fan. Now, the interesting thing about this is he come out with AJ Francis, who's an Arsenal fan. Now, again, those of you that in America that don't know, Arsenal and Tottenham I just do not get on. They are the biggest of rivals. Literally, a place not far from Tottenham is Arsenal. So their biggest rivals. Contrasting seasons, AJ Francis Arsenal won the Premier League. Tottenham just about survived on the last game. So to see these two together, I had seen video packages prior with Expressions and AJ Francis, but to see Expressions on my wrestling television box, I didn't think I'd see that in 2026, but he did play out AJ Francis, or he come out with AJ Francis, um, strutting his Paul Heyman type stuff as he took on Elijah. Elijah got the job done with this. Expressions got hit over the head with the guitar, which was great. Elijah won this match as well. And you got to remember that AJ Francis would have owned the rights to everything of Elijah. Um, had he'd won. So I think, given the fact that the stipulation was there, we kind of knew where it was going. Solid match, though. AJ Francis still proving that he is one of the best, if not the best, big man going. He's criminally underrated by people. He really, really is. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because of that issue that he had when he tried to fly over the top rope that time. I don't know. But he is really, really good. And Elijah arguably should be going for the World Heavyweight Championship. But to be fair, AJ Francis should be in that conversation as well. So where do they pivot after this? I guess we'll have to wait and see. So looking forward to seeing what happens for them. But I think both really have a case to be in that World Championship picture as of this week in Impact. First title change of the evening, and we mentioned the Knockouts Tag Championships earlier on. Well, Demon Bunny, Ali, and Rosemary got the job done against the concierge. It was with Ash by Elegance and the personal concierge. Good old George Iceman getting a misting during this from Rosemary. Um, I think that we all kind of, again, I'm not saying it was the point on the side of obvious, but the expectation was the Demon Bunny will pick up the win here, and they absolutely did. My concern really is kind of like, well, the Elegance brand will get a rematch, yes. Who's next? That's the issue that I can see here is once they beat the Elegance brand, who do they go against? Are you going to throw two knockouts together? Are you going to bring some new knockouts in? Which this whole TV tournament is, is going to throw up some questions and what happens and who would want to face the Undead Realm. To be honest with you, that's another question for you all. But really great to see Ali and Rosemary winning the tag team championships, and who knows what comes next. But it is a difficult thing to say because the Knockouts Tag Team Championships are a difficult one when you're not the Elegance brand. Who is there? Who is left? That's the problem, and I hope that's a problem that TNA solves in the very, very near future. Now, another championship that was on the line that got shuffled in the pre-show was the International Championship. Now, Mustafa Ali was always going to face a mystery opponent. What he didn't plan for is he was facing two mystery opponents because Santino Marella come out during the pre-show and announced that. Now, one of those mystery opponents was Rich Swann, who we hadn't seen in a while. He was dancing his way to the ring like he normally does. I need to get some of those moves from Rich. And the other one, well. I predicted it. I got it right. Ooh Nation, the former Apollo Crews debuts in TNA, and what a debut he had, by the way. This was brilliant. Again, if anything, too short. If any 10 minutes. I mean, it's got the same amount of time as the X Division. You're begging for more. Some of the sequences these guys were doing are tremendous. Actually, Ali picked up the victory in this match. It was quite surprising because I would have put it on UR Nation. But again, I don't know where we are in terms of the contract. Is it per appearance? Has he signed for a period of time? I don't know. But I tell you what, that is a pickup because let me tell you, that man is extremely, extremely talented. I remember when WWE first signed him, I was really thinking that something was going to happen because he's athletic, he's big, he's quick, he's got the strength, he's got a bit of everything. And in some cases in the WWE, and look, the prime example is right here in TNA. Ash by Elegance, AJ Francis, Mustafa Ali. You could argue Nick Nemeth. People that come in, Elena Black, that come in, Indy Hartwell, I'm going to keep on, but people that come in where it just hasn't worked out in the WWE or in AEW for that matter, come in and TNA and they find the perfect spot. And I think Our Nation has found his perfect spot, and TNA is going to be the place that he calls home. And I am very much looking forward to it. It was great to see Rich Swann back as well, don't get me wrong, but Our Nation, I'm all for this. I am really all for this. I can't wait to see what happened in there. Awesome, by the way, awesome match. Go out your way to watch that one. Fantastic match. Speaking of fantastic matches, that brings me to Moose and Eddie Edwards. Now, they had a no surrender match. What no surrender is the person who's in your corner throws in the towel to prevent you from getting damaged any further. Now, that was interesting because we had Alicia Edwards in one corner and JDC back in TNA. He was in the other corner, Moose's corner, for this. Jeez, they threw everything at each other. They really, really did. This was brutal. It even turned into a family affair because Moose's wife and son were even involved in this, and at one point during the show, Moose was zip tied to the ropes, and Alicia brought his wife in, and she was on the floor, and his son come in. Eddie Edwards was going to power drive his son, who gave Eddie Edwards a low blow. Moose popped out of the zip tie as he hit a couple of spears, and then in the end, eventually, he was Moose had the chain wrapped around his body as he was spearing Eddie Edwards, and Eddie Edwards was coughing up blood, and Alicia Edwards decided at that point to throw in the towel. But it didn't stop there because for the last couple of weeks on Impact, Alicia Edwards has been goading Moose to spearing her. Well, he did, and he speared Eddie Edwards through a table that was stacked up in the corner. So Moose gets up the victory there. It's a stacked top end card on TNA. It really, really is. Moose, we know, can work X Division. Moose, we know, can work international championship level as well. So I'm really intrigued with Moose because, he's been there for so long. He has pretty much done it all into now. I don't know the contract situation of Moose, nor would I want to know his contract situation for that matter. But he's one that's been there for a very, very long time. A bit like Rosemary. And you just wonder if, he's had a little taste of NXT, whether he would go there. Eddie Edwards will always, the system are there still. They're still going to be causing havoc this week on Impact for sure, for certain. But look, two great competitors there. Awesome match. And a nice way to end it with Moose picking up the victory with his family, of course, in the ring. Now, we did get a brand new Knockouts World Champion, that being Zaya Brookside. She becomes the first British Knockouts Champion in TNA history. And Lei Ying Lee, this was a real fight. I'll be honest with you. They really did take it to one another. You could sense the hatred in there between the two. They did not like each other one iota. But during the match, Zaya Brookside, they managed to take off the top turnbuckle, and in the end, it was her planting Lei Ying Lee onto that turnbuckle, hitting the dark side DDT, and winning 1, 2, 3. She was emotional. She tried her best not to show it, but she did show the emotion of winning the Knockouts Championship. And hey, look, the era of Zaya is now upon us, and be interesting. I mean, look, Lei Ying Lee could easily go for that television title. I know that she's got I'm sure she'll have a rematch clause in there, mind you, but an opportunity for her to reclaim another championship pretty quickly, really, in there. But I tell you, the Knockouts division sound as a pound in TNA right now. And congratulations to Zaya Brookside. It was a great match as well. And I think that new character, she's really found herself in that new character, and it's paying dividends right now. And she is a world champion after all. Well, at least for the foreseeable. We don't know. Could it be as early as this week on Impact? We'll have to find out for sure. The crazy ladder match was next down. The Great Hands got put in this very late on. But the Hardy Boys continued their way in TNA in ladder matches, being the kings of the ladder match. I will have to admit, and as much as I'm a big Hardy Boys fan, and I do really still love Matt and Jeff, they're nearly 50 years old. They're still flying off ladders, barbed wire ladders, wicked ladders. The poisonous flower on Brian Myers this time in this match, they were flying around literally and figuratively all over the place. There was some, it was absolute carnage, which I thought it was going to be. Wasn't a fan of the Hardy Boys winning it though. I have to be honest with you because the system had only just won those championships not a couple of weeks ago at Rebellion, and a couple of weeks, a month or two back. I just feel like I don't know. It felt a bit pointless putting it on the system for two defenses, only to have the Hardys. I know they're the specialists in the ladder match, and I will grant that they are. But I just felt as if the great hands got added late, which makes sense if you were going to give them the victory in the match. Didn't make sense them being added and them not winning. You could argue that the righteous also deserve that opportunity because of the work they've done with the Hardys. I just felt like as great as the match was, and it absolutely was, people were busted open. Like I said, they were using barbed wire tables, everything was in there. There was a big spot, actually. I think it was Bear. I think it was Vincent that was on the ladder. They got pushed off through about four tables during this. It was the old, I think it was the old Dudley Boys spot from the one of the first TLCs when the ladder gets pulled over. Jeff was struggling on that wicked ladder. Matt was holding it, but he was struggling with his balance to hit a swanton bomb on the outside through a table before they went and picked up the championships. Crazy match. I just feel like I was a bit like, oh, not, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to the Hardys because I think they're great, but I just felt like they don't need those championships anymore, and the great hands probably do. The system, Bear Bronson and Brian Myers probably could have held it on a bit longer. But anyway, Hardy Boys are tag champions, and congratulations to them. It was a hellacious, hellacious match. Now, before the main event, Mike Santana done like a lovely little prologue skit, and he ended up with saying that Conan would be the next inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame. A fantastic promo. It really, really was a great little vignette for that. I really enjoyed it. But, and this is a big talking point. I said to you on Friday when we done the TNA Impact review, I said don't if he retains that doesn't mean he's not going to WWE. But there was a lot of people saying if he loses the match, he's pretty much going to NXT. Well, we're going to find out because he did indeed lose this match to Nick Nemeth cleanly as well. That's the big thing. The one thing I would say about TNA in this match is, and sometimes Dreamer gets a lot of stick for this, the DQs, the shenanigans on the outside, and I was getting a bit annoyed with the system, if you remember. None of them. I mean, the Moose, Eddie Edwards, yeah, of course, but that you could understand it. The concierge did get involved, but not in a massive way. Like Ryan Nemeth got involved in this one early on as well, but he got kicked straight out to the back in this. And Nick won clean as a whistle. Mike was bleeding from the head. I'm not sure where he got cut. I'm not sure if it was a hit with the Call Your Shot trophy. I'm not entirely sure when he got cut open because he did get cut open in this, and it was actually the exhaustion of him being cut open and his body taking the punishment they did that when he tried to spin the block on Nick, he couldn't do it. Nick hit him with a super kick, hits the what's it called now? I can't remember what it was. I was going to call it a zigzag. It is a zigzag anyway. We all know it's a zigzag. Picks up the victory. And this is obviously going to be now we're going to find out more about Santana and where he goes from here. Obviously, like I said, contract is due up in July, I believe, which is obviously this week. I don't know when in July, mine, but I know it's this week. Has that decision been made? Has he already gone to the WWE? Has he already signed for the WWE? In a sense that he's given TNA notice. I don't know. Um, I'll be honest, like with Santana, I think his home was right where he was. He'll be in NXT for sure if he does go to WWE. And I don't know, You look at the talent down there, Evil's down there, Will Cruz is down there, Tony D'Angelo's down there. Ooh, it's a risk. I mean, listen, financial risk, maybe. Is he getting the main event? Is he getting the main roster money? I don't know. I don't even know if he's going yet, but all indications point to the fact that he's off to WWE. I hope it's the good move. I hope it's a good move. I hope that whatever happens with Mike Sedano, maybe we're going to hear from him this week on TNA. I don't know. I really don't know. So we'll have to wait and see with it. But I think whatever happens to it, we wish him well. And look, if he stays with TNA, brilliant. If he does go to WWE, obviously it's a guttering thing, but we would. I think he would go on TNA's best wishes, and on the door would always be open to come back, guys. But what a Slammiversary is in the books, and we move ahead to this week's Impact as well as we're on the road to lockdown in August from Chi-Town. As I said, you can get your tickets TNAWrestling.com, and of course, if you're in the UK, TNA Plus 9.99 gives you the lot, including lockdown, of course. We'll be back this week with the TNA Impact review this coming Friday. Will be review shows all across the week. Interview with Danny Black has just gone out. Go and see that right now. There's a signing for you, TNA, Carlos Silva. But look, guys, follow us HTT Buckle everywhere. We'll be back. We'll see you again tomorrow. We'll be back with the review of another pay-per-view that happened this past weekend. That will be Forbidden Door. Until then, everybody, cross the line, stay safe, and goodbye.